Ever wondered if those billionaires, those super successful people, if their sleep habits have anything to do with how they made it big?
Yeah, it's a good question, right?
Yeah,
Like, do they have some kind of secret sleep formula?
totally. I mean, we've all heard that whole early to bed, early to rise thing, but is there really something to it? Especially when we're talking about like reaching billionaire status.
Right, right.
So we've got
Yeah.
this article that dives into this whole thing, really looking into whether those sleep patterns really contribute to success or if it's just, I don't know, a coincidence.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the mission for today's deep dive?
Well, I think we really want to look at, I guess the main question is waking up early really like the be all and end all of success? Or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, because I'm looking at this article here and it talks about, having a solid morning routine. And it even mentions waking up at 4 a.m. I mean, is that really the key?
Well, it's funny because the article does mention some pretty big names who are part of that early bird club. You've got Tim Cook waking up at like 3:45 in the morning.
Wow, 3.45.
Yeah, and Richard Branson's up around 5 a.m. But the question is that what's making them successful?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Or is it just something they do? And maybe it helps, but maybe it's not the main ingredient.
Right, because you could argue that, okay, waking up early gives you some quiet time to like strategize and think about your day, maybe get a workout in, do some reading, all that.
Absolutely, yeah. That quiet time can be super valuable, especially when you're running a giant company or, changing the world. Less distractions, more focus. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. But then this article also goes on to say that, hold on, maybe early rising isn't the only path to success. I mean, are they saying we can sleep in and still conquer the world?
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
What they're getting at is that we all have these natural rhythms, these times of the day when we're most productive.
Right.
And it's about figuring out what works for you.
Oh, okay. So like personalized productivity.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, I like that.
Take Mark Zuckerberg, for example.
Yeah.
He doesn't start his day till like 8 a.m. And there are tons of other super successful people, night owls, who do their best work later in the day. So forcing yourself to be an early bird, if you're naturally a night owl, well, that might actually be holding you back.
Huh. Okay, so how do we figure out what really works? Like where these billionaire sleep schedules fit in? Can we learn anything from their patterns?
That's where it gets really interesting. The article actually breaks down a few of their schedules, and it's pretty diverse.
Okay, lay it on me.
So Elon Musk, he gets about 6 hours of sleep, going to bed at 1 a.m. and waking up at 7. Then you have Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, who both average 7 hours.
Okay.
But their schedules are totally different. Gates sleeps from midnight to 7 a.m., while Zuckerberg sleeps from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Interesting. So it's not even just the amount of sleep that's consistent.
Right. And then there's Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett. They both get a full 8 hours, but again, different schedules. Bezos sleeps from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., while Buffett hits the hay at 10:45 p.m. and wakes up at 6:45 a.m.
So we've got 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. We've got early birds. We've got night owls. It's all over the place. So what's the takeaway here? Are you telling me it doesn't matter when or how much I sleep as long as I become a billionaire?
Well, becoming a billionaire is a whole other deep dive.
Good point.
But I think what's really important here is that the article emphasizes consistency and discipline, not just the wake-up time. These billionaires, they've figured out what works for them, and they stick to it. They have routines, they have structure. That seems to be a big part of it.
That's kind of reassuring, actually. So instead of stressing about getting up at some crazy hour,
Yeah.
I should just focus on finding a routine that works for me and, sticking with it.
Exactly. Consistency is key because it helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, and that impacts your energy, your focus, how productive you are, the whole 9 yards.
Makes total sense. So what's the final word for our listeners today? What should they be thinking about as they, maybe reconsider their own sleep habits?
Here's the thing. Instead of trying to fit into some mold, pay attention to when you feel most energized and productive. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Experiment a little. Try different sleep schedules and routines until you find that sweet spot, that time when you feel most alive and ready to take on the world.
That's great advice. I think I'll be experimenting a bit myself. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive into billionaire sleep habits. Until next time.
My pleasure.